Good afternoon, and welcome to Pinhole Quilting from Pershore in Worcestershire in England. And wherever you are in the world, I hope that you're having a great day, and you may be doing something creative, which would be great, which would be fantastic. And I'm sitting here in front of a Sweet 16, which is a 16-inch long arm from Handy Quilter, and behind me are a huge array of our long arms that we've got here at our showroom. And if you're interested in long arm quilting and you want to check out our machines, you can look at our website, but then make the next step and come and see us. We would love to see you. In fact, we've just had a customer here today picking up her sit down, one just like this, and she'll be going home and no doubt probably already is playing about on it. Actually, do you think I can knock the lights on? I think we probably, I forgot to do that. Forgot to turn the lights on. So it's not, there we go, that's better. It's not Pete behind the camera today, it's Mark, our operations manager. So welcome, Mark, to the joys of Facebook Live. You've done this a few times now.
Yeah, hello everyone.
Yep. And Mark's going to keep a track of who's perhaps signing in. When you come online, do join in the conversation and say hi, maybe where you're from. It's always lovely to see those comments. In fact, we got a really nice comment on our emails today from a lady who said that I'd given her a reason to move over to the UK. I mean, how amazing is that? That our Facebook Live videos are sufficient to persuade somebody that they really need to be living in the UK. That's pretty good, isn't it? That's a fairly high bar. So anyway, I hope you, wherever you are, enjoy this, find it useful, and maybe get a few little tips out of it for your own long arm quilting. If you're coming to Festival Quilts, we look forward to seeing you there. If you are a Handy Quilter owner, I'm planning on having something that will enable you to be identified as such, because it would be really nice if more of our Handy Quilter owners could connect and meet up with each other. So the plan is between 1 and 1:30 each day of the show is that you'll meet up at the gin bar. No drinks are required. You can just have tonic water if you wish, but it would be nice if you could connect with some of our other lovely Handy Quilter owners while you're at the Festival of Quilts. Okay, Mark, is it all live? Can everybody hear us?
Yeah, there's quite a few hellos.
Okay.
Joe Pike has said hello.
Oh, good. That was Joe. I was going to mention you in a bit because I was with Joe yesterday installing her Capri, which is the machine I've just got over here. So great. Hope everything's going well, and we look forward to seeing your progress online. Join up on Longarm Learning Curve, where you'll also be able to post questions as well to the community of Longarm owners in the UK and abroad. Okay. Anybody else that's there?
Yeah. Christine Twiggs on.
Oh, good.
So
Christine.
we were just talking about her order.
That's right.
Mari from Darwin.
Oh, yes, Mari from Darwin. We're still in British summertime, so Mari can join us without it being ridiculously either early or late.
Margaret from North Carolina.
Oh, fantastic. Margaret Derrin, I think that is it?
Yes.
God, you see, I already know these people. It's like I know you. It's incredible.
We've got Leslie Gregg from South Shields.
Oh, brilliant.
Elizabeth
Hi, Leslie.
Dunkley's on. So
yeah.
Quite a few regulars on there.
Excellent, excellent. It's good to see so many people online, and it's really good to have some of those new customers who are new to the Handy Quilter family. It's one of the things that we really encourage people to do is connect either on our Facebook Lives or on the closed groups, which are Longarm Learning Curve and Longarm Learning Curve International. And it's a really good way for you to meet up online and ask questions. So I know there's lots of groups. There's loads and loads of groups for long arm quilting that are out there. But actually the groups that are the closed ones that we basically do the admin for, myself and Linda are admin on the international and Linda's admin on the UK group. It's really good because we have our engineers on there. We have lots of our really experienced long arm customers. And we've got people like Helen Godden sometimes puts on some comments, particularly if it's about sit down quilting. Happy birthday, Helen, by the way, for yesterday. I'm 50 years old. Half a century. So good day to Helen. And it's fantastic. I see that Helen and Michelle have been getting together. Michelle's the Handy Quilter, one of the Handy Quilter retailers over in Perth, over at Handcrafter's House. So big shout out to Michelle as well. So what are we going to talk about this week on Facebook Live? I was going to give you an update on the workshops, where we are with places on our workshops that we're running here at the Pershore Quilting Showroom. Also update on the workshops at the Festival of Quilts. For those people who are interested in buying a long arm, we would love to have you come and spend 3 hours having a play on either the Mara or one of the machines will be a Moxie. And it will give you a better insight into what long arm quilting is about than you can get from just sort of doing squiggles and squiggles and maybe your name on the Handy Quilter stand. So it would be excellent. There are some places left on that. So let's just talk about that first. We are doing, it's like an introduction to long arm quilting, and then there's one that's on some of the accessories that you can get. So on those days we've got, I'm going to look back through here. Yeah. So on the Thursday morning, there's a couple of spaces left on there. Thursday afternoon is sold out. There's quite a few spaces left on Friday morning. Friday afternoon, just one, and then there's 2 on Saturday. All the rest are sold out. So if you're free on either Friday morning, Friday afternoon, or Saturday in the afternoon, then there's that opportunity, and you can book these at the show if you don't want to commit at this stage, and if there are spaces left, we'd love to see you. We're looking forward to seeing those who've already booked. It'll be an opportunity for you to meet with a couple of our Handy Quilter educators. So when we put the schedule together, we didn't sort of mention who those people were, but we've got international award-winning quilters, Linda Jackson, our Handy Quilter ambassador and educator, and our Abigail Sheridan de Graaf, who's also a Handy Quilter educator. Both of them, as I say, have won at international level, and they'll be teaching you on the Handy Quilter long arms. So it's a great opportunity to learn from some really top teachers in our Handy Quilter classroom. It's situated on the gap between the 2 halls where you'll see the main displays at Festival of Quilts. So you'll be able to have a sort of look in. Don't try waving at people while they're long arm quilting. They'll be facing away from you. But we'll also have some interesting demos on our stand, and we will let you know more details about those. Festival of Quilts is a great opportunity to meet with some very experienced long arm quilters. So on the lecture side, Angela Walters will be there. She's a Handy Quilter. She's a retailer as well as being a Handy Quilter demonstrator. And Angela will be doing 2 lectures on the Saturday. So there's some places left on those. And it'll be a great opportunity if you're into long arm quilting to see Angela demonstrating. It's a lecture demo. Also, one of the other people that's there that you might not have heard of before is a quilter that I've followed for quite a while called Joe Cunningham. He quilts using Pro Stitcher, which is the computerized system. He also uses Art and Stitch, which is a digitizing package that used to come with Pro Stitcher. I don't know whether he uses Handy Quilter's Pro Stitcher Designer now, but what Joe does is incredible quilting to add real texture and dimension and some real interest to the incredible quilts that he puts together. He's a real cool artist, and I'd encourage you to look him up and have a look at his work before you come to the show. I remember seeing a video of him chatting with Brenda Grolls, who was the marketing director at Handy Quilter for quite some years, and she's obviously a very good friend of Joe Cunningham. And they had such a nice chat about his work and how he does it and how he uses digitizing and then stitches it out on the Handy Quilter. So if you're looking to explore that element of your creativity through digitizing and some of the computerized packages, then Joe Cunningham is the one to see. He's got an exhibition, one of those solo exhibitions that's at the Festival of Quilts. So I seem to have been talking a lot. We'll demo in a bit, but are there any comments, Mark, or is everybody just stunned into silence by my monologue?
There's lots of hellos.
Good. Do you want to read out some more hellos and we'll say hello?
So Jenny Humphreys.
Jenny Humphreys.
Hello. Carol Watson.
Oh, we'll see you soon, Carol.
Yes, well, Carol, I don't know if you're a cricket fan, but Worcestershire playing Durham. So I might be down watching that later. So
oh yes.
I don't want to say any more about that.
Who you're watching? Against Durham.
Yeah. Linda Jackson's on. Trudy Benman's on. Is there anybody I've missed?
That's good.
Annette Holden.
Yep, Annette, Round Cow Road.
Yep. No questions so far.
Okay, brilliant. The other thing is obviously the workshops that we're running here. We launched last Saturday. There was a flurry of activity at around 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. Lots of people panicking that they weren't going to place, and there was good reason for that, because the landscape workshop with Carolyn James and myself sold out on the Saturday. And so, in fact, we took slightly more. I haven't told you this yet, Carolyn, but we took maybe a couple more extra people. Anyway, we'll fit them in. The landscape workshop will be a lot of fun. So I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you, everybody who booked on that. It's going to be a really good, fun, creative day. We're going to really play with the machines. So we've got there's a couple of domestic machines, we've got 4 sit-downs, and we've got the 10 stand-ups. So going to be a really good day. Now, so that's sold out. Foundation workshops, there is 1 place left on the 21st of September, but 3 places left on Rulers, Feathers and Fills on the 22nd. So if you fancy following up from what you might have done on the foundation workshop and you're looking for kind of next steps, a really good one to do is the Rulers, Feathers and Fills, because we go through more detail on rulers. I give you an introduction to feathers, and then we do the fills. And it's with Carolyn James and myself. So Carolyn is an experienced Damara quilter over there in Suffolk, and we have a lot of fun with Carolyn. So I think doing a quilt class where you're actually really having a laugh at the same time is a great way to learn. Let's just talk about November workshops. The foundation workshop in November, we've got 3 places left on the sit-downs and just 1 place left on the stand-up. So it's possible I need to run another day in November. So that's something I might need to do, because this is like the last day of June, right? This is not even July. So it's quite possible we need to put in another day there. Pro Stitcher. Linda, you'll be delighted to know that the sales of the Pro Stitcher class, your 2-day class, is nearly sold out. There's just a couple of places left on that, and there's about 8 places left on the Pro Stitcher Designer. So if you're thinking about learning more on Pro Stitcher, it's either Pro Stitcher Premium or Light, and you'd like to learn about Pro Stitcher Designer as well, 2 different classes, 2 days on each, Tuesday, Wednesday for Pro Stitcher, Thursday, Friday on Designer, and with Linda Jackson. So we will have the machine set up so you'll be able to stitch out your designs. Great way to learn. Learn it on the computer and then stitch it out on the machine. So if you're interested in that, do not delay. Do not delay. That's in October. So I was talking with a lady earlier today about terminology, and I realized that there are some times when we kind of make assumptions, and it's something that came up. I saw Stuart Hillard last week, and I was talking about what we've been talking about, which is like demonstrating machines. And one of the things you have to remember is that not everybody knows what you're talking about, of course, but it's hard sometimes to put yourself in the mind of someone who's literally just looking at long arm quilting. And what do we mean by long arm quilting? And it's something ahead of the Festival of Quilts. I thought it would just be worth going through what are the different types of long arm quilting. So I'm sitting in front of a Sweet 16. This is a stationary machine. The machine does not move. And the stationary machines are like the Sweet 16. We've got the Capri, and we seem to have the Amara ST for stationary. Those are all machines that you can use in a relatively small floor space. Without the extra table here, it would have about 1 meter square. And this would enable me to make a very easy transition, a little segue from my domestic machine, but with a very much larger throat space. So all of my skills that I've got on free motion quilting are going to be replicated on this machine. So this is where I can do whatever custom quilting, probably custom quilting. In other words, I look at the quilt and I decide how I'm going to quilt it. I might do edge to edge on it, which is where you go from one side of the quilt to the other. But the chances are that more often than not, what you're doing is working from the center of the quilt outwards. You're probably looking at the quilt, like I say, for inspiration, probably breaking it down into sections and quilting sections, either free motion or with a ruler. We can use different feet with it. We can use couching feet. So there's something, in fact, that on our Instagram, there's a lovely Sarah Joy Ford, who's, although it's a stand-up machine, you can still see that the couching on there that she's done on a post, I think she put up yesterday, fantastic. And you can do the same thing on the Sweet 16. So these sit-down stationary machines sit down because we are mostly sitting down. and they are stationary, but you can also stand up. So we've got the capri just here, which actually, if you just turn the angle a little bit, Mark, you'll see this is not going to be for a very tall person set up at the moment, but this can go much, much higher, and you can actually stand at this machine. So that's why we've changed the name from sit down to stationary, because these machines can do both. We can sit down at them and we can stand up, but the machine doesn't move when we're quilting. So typically what we're doing is we're moving the fabric. Okay, so here is a quilt I started ages ago. I'm not going to be using that very bright pink on it. I'll just take this off. But with this kind of quilt here, it's not too big. It's just a throw. It's like a lap quilt. But the benefit of having this extra side table on my stationary machine is that I've got loads. So this is the size of the quilt. It's sort of 45 by, what is it? Yeah, 45 by 60. So this is a quilt that I started quilting a little while ago. And I've actually finished the binding off and stabilized it, but I haven't finished doing the quilting, which is using this large floral motif. So it actually looks quilted on the back. In fact, if I show you this one, well, you can zoom in on that, Mark. You can just show that, and then I'll flip it round again. So this is the quilting that I've done. Okay, and I've used the design from this. So that's my rose. This is an Amy Butler fabric. And if anybody knows how old this is, then they know how long I've been doing this quilt. I just use it as a sample because I like to show that one of the bobbins that I used on here, I did not have the tension set up correctly. I haven't unpicked it because I like to show what bad tension looks like and then what good tension looks like. Okay, so bad tension and good tension. So it's like a lot of my quilts that I do, they are for a reason. That I've done them like that. So let's talk about quilting on this. So how big a quilt can you quilt on a stationary machine like the Sweet 16 with its 16-inch throat space? Big. Big is what I'm going to say. So this isn't a particularly big quilt, but you can see that the area that I've got available is huge. This is the front of my table, and if I use these things, these paddles, then I'm able to move this around really easily. It's not get caught up. This is all smooth. This is all taken up the weight. So certainly for a 45 by 60, absolutely easy as anything. And in fact, Joanna, who I saw yesterday, who's got the capri, had 2 side tables. So she'll be able to do this and more in that direction, taking that weight up, which is the thing that when you're doing it on domestic and you've got no throat space to play with, you really struggle with continually moving the quilt around. So this is the big problem with a small arm machine, which you don't have when you get a long arm. So I'll be moving this like this and doing the quilting using this design on the front. So that's the sort of sit down or stand up on a stationary machine. That's the elements of it. The other thing is that rather like the other machines that we've got where you move the machine, not the quilt, we've got sensors on here which are a little bit akin to having the encoders on a stand-up movable machine. And these encoders, which are built into the table, yeah, do you want to, if you bring that in, you can see these encoders here. As I'm moving my fabric, it recognizes how fast I'm moving it. So if I just take, in fact, I'll just take this bobbin out, I'll show you. If I put it on stitch regulation, and I'm just going to pretend I'm quilting. So stitch regulation, I'm going to put on 12 stitches per inch and a small amount of cruise. If I put my foot on the foot pedal, go slowly, and then as soon as I pick up, it starts sewing more quickly. So that's how that works. It basically uses the movement of what it can see the backing fabric is doing to be able to determine the stitch length. Okay, so that's the stationaries. And if you would like to come over to Fasteler Quilts, we'll have the new Amara ST on the stand. So the lady I spoke to earlier, who was from Guernsey actually, she asked some really great questions. And And I thought if I just made a note of the kind of things that she was asking, it might help the next person who's thinking about getting a long arm to understand some of this terminology. So okay, well that's what happens when you get a power cut and you can't use your machines. The modem goes, the computer stops working, but we've got the phone video, so we'll post this in a bit. We'll join the two things together. So where was I before I was so rudely interrupted by the power cut? I was talking about the Pro Stitcher Designer. So there's some places left on that. But also I then went on to talk about what the difference is between stand-up and sit-down machines and the movable machine. So this is our sit-down, otherwise known as stationary. You don't move the machine. And then behind me I've got the Amara, where we actually move the machine rather than the quilt. So two different types of long arm. One where it's stationary, you move the quilt. One where it's basically moving the machine, not the quilt. This lady who called today, she was asking about edge to edge. What does edge to edge mean? What does custom quilting mean? What's computerized and what's pantograph? All great questions. So pantograph quilting is when we use a design at the back of the frame and it's printed on a piece of paper and we use a laser light to trace from the back of the machine. So on the handy quilter at the back, they would have an extra set of handlebars and we would move the handlebars over the paper using the laser light to trace the design. That then reproduces on the quilt. That's pantographs. We can therefore do edge-to-edge quilting. Edge-to-edge quilting can also be completed by doing computerized quilting, where we set it up so it stitches from the left to the right, or from the right to the left, and goes all the way down the quilt. You can also do edge-to-edge quilting by putting a stencil on the front of the machine, i.e. from this side of the machine, and moving your handlebars over the stenciled design. Again, that's edge-to-edge. So three different types of edge-to-edge: computerized, pantograph, or marking it from the front. Then she asked about free motion quilting. What is free motion quilting and what's custom quilting? So free motion quilting is literally where you're guiding the machine, usually on a stand-up. This is kind of where we normally talk about free motion quilting, on a stand-up or a sit-down, where you're moving the quilt in a particular way to custom quilt. So in other words, we're looking at the design perhaps like this, and we're saying, okay, what do we want to do? Where do we want to quilt? And within that, you can do ruler work, you can do couching, you can do micro quilting. I should do a little chart on this, really. So those are some of the things. And computerized quilting is almost like where you've got a machine that's being moved using motors, and it's moving the whole machine around in the X and the Y direction so that we can complete designs. So now they were some of the questions that she'd got. So I thought it would be useful if I just covered some of those things ahead of Festival of Quilts. Final thing I'm going to do, because we've got this power cut, so I can't do any stitching as such, but I just wanted to welcome some new handy quilter owners over these past week, and some of the new owners that we've got coming up. So that would be Anne, who's just had her Mara with Pro Stitcher installed. Congratulations, Anne. And we'll be doing some training on that. And Pete, sounds like Pete did some good training with you yesterday, but we know that it's a lot to take on board. So we'll do the Zoom Pro Stitcher training when we can fix it up, which will probably hopefully be next week. Joanna, so I had a lovely time with Joanna yesterday down in Wiltshire, and we got her started on the Capri. Congratulations, and I can't wait to see the rest of your room set up. You'll enjoy quilting. It might drown out the sounds of the birds outside. Anyway, then we've also got Cheryl, and Cheryl is about to have her Sweet 16 pre-loved. I'm going to be delivering that to her next Tuesday and installing it with an insight table. And then we've also got Cherry, who's just picked up her Sweet 16 pre-loved, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Cherry does on it. She's already got an Infinity, but actually she wanted to do some free motion embroidery type work on the sit down, so that's perfect. And then we've got Michelle as well, who's just put in an order for the Avanti pre-loved, which is going to be a lovely machine for you, Michelle, and we're looking forward to you becoming a handy quilter owner as well. Finally, I will catch up with you next Friday when I'll be talking more about quilts, entering quilt shows, which was originally the theme of what this was supposed to be, but the power cut has kind of put the kibosh on that. So we'll do that next week. I will edit this when I get home, where hopefully that isn't a power cut, and I will post this online so that everybody can see it. In the meantime, have a great week, and I'll see you next Friday, 3 p.m. Happy quilting.